Hello students, I welcome you all to Current Affair Lectures by Azad ICS Academy, and today we are going to study the current affairs of 20th February. So let us see the first important topic. There are no much editorials today, but yes, some of the important topics, that is on building resilient telecom infrastructure, right? So this is basically dependent, or this is a topic of infrastructure that is coming under Indian economy. So Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure report. So there's a report that is coalition, or that is released by Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. And it is a multinational organization that was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in 2019, but out a report earlier. So they have put a report which is earlier this month, which is studying the Indian telecom networks preparedness in event of disasters. The report suggests a way in which a state government can better prepare for calamities that may impact telecom networks. So first thing is what we have to understand, this is related to infrastructure, and here we are basically talking about the telecom infrastructure, point number one. Point number two, it was introduced in 2019, or it was launched in 2019, and there is a Coalition of Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. So that is CDRI. This was basically introduced in 2019, and what they are basically trying to do is they're going to check how, if there is a particular disaster, how your infrastructure is going to be there, especially telecom network or any network for that matter. Okay. Now here we will discuss about, so this is basically to assess how well Indian telecom networks are basically there. And the report suggested that not just central government, why just the central government, even the state government needs to, be prepared for the calamities that can impact the telecom networks. See, it's not just the center who can always keep an eye, right? So even the states can basically put in some of the effort so that they can basically have a proper resilient or a resilient infrastructure. Now, why is it important? What is the requirement of this? The importance of telecom network in disasters. Telecom networks are crucial for handling disasters because they allow the state and the nation's disaster management authorities to communicate quickly on a local municipalities and states and union governments. Sometimes they're important when lives and properties are at stake. Telecom networks are particularly vulnerable as they are comprising cabling that may not be fully undergrounded, towers that may not be able to withstand high wind speed, and because they rely on steady flow of electricity, which frequently disrupted by disaster like cyclones, earthquake. See, we have to understand, you might have seen that there is floods. Okay, if there is floods, then what will happen is if there is a lot of wiring that is there. So especially if you've seen there is floods or something like that, there's electricity that is off. And there is electricity and electricity, if there is a telecom industry which is depending on electricity, what is going to happen is that will be in stress. Now imagine there's a disaster and you need to connect. And if you do not have this connection, then it is going to be very difficult to communicate and help a lot of people. We will not be able to understand anybody who is being stuck in this particular disaster or etc. Right? So it's very, very important for us to make sure that this telecom network is very well in place. The reason why this particular telecom network is supposed to be in place is because what happens here is in the disaster or during the disaster, it's very important for us to have this particular communication. How they have impacted in disaster. On top of the towers been hit by wind speed, overland cables or opposed the underground ones, which have been projected for many disasters, can snap. Coastal regions face elevated risk as they were under sea cable connected India within the global internet. If the land stations of these cables are impacted, there would be massive network disruption as a telecom operators try to reroute the traffic through other cables. So basically what is happening here is, see, we have to understand that they are very important. First thing is we have understood the importance of telecommunication. Now, disruption in telecommunication services can delay critical responses, okay, putting a lot of people to respond, risk. Now, what are the impact of this particular disasters? Point number one. Now, these particular high-speed winds, when there is high-speed wind, you can see that the trees are bending and all of that, right? Similarly, what's going to happen is if there is a big tower, that tower will also try to shake, or that tower may get damaged as well, okay, can damage towers, while whatever overloaded or overland cables are there, okay, they can also, lose their connections. Coastal regions especially will be vulnerable. The reason why is because if there is a disaster, they are getting connected to underwater or undersea communication as well. And in that case, what is going to happen if these cables of the land stations are affected? Then what is happening here is there would be a widespread network failure. Power failure during the disaster are major challenges, especially primary reasons are telecommunications, telecom outreach, you can see. The lack of power during the disaster remains a major issue. When I first joined here, I did my own analysis of data and telecommunication outrages since 2016, and I found that the real issue was power. Sanjana Agarwal, Deputy Director General of Disaster Management in the Department of Telecommunications, said this. So she is saying that the reason why there is a lot of failure in the telecommunication is because there is a outrage of electricity. There is no electricity, or you can say because of electricity outages, what is going to happen here is I may, will not be able to have a proper communication or proper connect, is what she's trying to tell us. What can be done better? So we have to understand several undersea cables require specialized repair ships, leading a slow restore process. So if you need to understand that we need to have something that several undersea cables, which are time consuming repair process, that needs to be done properly. We need to have a ship which is going to repair it very soon. So whatever time is taking to, repair that, that should get reduced. This is point number one. Okay. Now, restoring power to telecommunication towers and network centers are critical for maintaining connectivity. So we need to understand that whatever power is going, we need to restore that. So if the power is there, then we can automatically, connect. So you can see the towers assuming 27 point bars, 24 bar 7 power supply, with possible exceptions in Mumbai, have and also have a battery as well as a fuel backup. So we should have something which is called battery as well as fuel backup, at least for communication purpose. Okay, so this is what they're trying to see. Real-time monitoring software helps authorities track network outages and relocate resources and services as well. So this is something that can also be done. Right now, recommendations. How can we, how can the networks be protected? So what are the recommendations? First thing is that we have to understand is that we need to have, or we have to come up with something which is called as improving power infrastructure. Point number one. See, if our power is there, if there is no power outage, then automatically the telecom industry will also be at a better level, right? So how can we do this? Strengthening electricity supply to telecom network can reduce disruptions. So here the recommendations, a few measures to develop a resilient telecom network. These include a greater data collection and more coordination among officials and robust power infrastructure. See, first thing is automatically we should collect the data. There should be proper coordination among the officials, but along with that, there should be a proper power infrastructure. This is something that we need to worry about. Resilient power infrastructure can also is also an area where this particular CDRI focuses on enormous amount of effort and requiring cell to worlds withstand high wind speeds, especially coastal states and districts where hurricanes can landfall. So these are the states where, or these are the places where there should be a lot of proper power infrastructure that needs to be understood. Build a stronger towers. So cell towers, especially coastal regions, should be designed to withstand high speeds. So when you're building a particular tower itself, make sure that it is able to withstand a lot of, wind speed, etc. Enhanced data coordination, better data collection and improvised coordination between the telecom operators and disaster management agencies can speed up the restoration efforts as well. So here we need to understand the second thing that they're talking is about, they need to get a proper update disaster management and loss of data information or data format. Mainstream disaster risk modeling into telecom infrastructure and planning across the miles. So there should be a proper communication between the two sectors, that is the telecom sector and the disaster sector. Right? So if they have a proper communication and there is a proper coordination, then automatically what is going to happen is there will be a less impact, right? Dig once policy, encourage simultaneous installation of underground water, utilizes like water, gas, drain, and fiber optic cables, reduce the risk of damage during the infrastructure. So we need to, come up with such kind of resilient infrastructure, okay, wherein we are having underground gas or underground drainage or fiber optics, so that whatever damages are there, that gets reduced. Especially, see, I'm not talking about earthquake, but at least if there are floods or if there is, you can say, cyclones, okay, or there is drought. So in such kind of disasters, basically what is going to happen here is these are all underground, which may not get affected, and still our communication will be better off, right? So small investments such as installing backup generators at a higher elevation to prevent floods damage significantly will improve our network resilience. Effective planning and proactive measures are something that we need to work upon. Right. So these are some things that we need to understand from this particular article. Next important article that we have today here is, did the Iron Age on Indian soil start from Tamil Nadu? So we all have seen that there is an Iron Age. Okay. And a lot of reports are talking about whether the Iron Age did it starts from Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stanley proclaimed that the Iron Age began on Tamil Nadu soil or Tamil soil, placing the date of 5,300 odd years, that is 4th millennium BC, and that the history of Indian subcontinent could no longer overlook Tamil Nadu. So here, This is basically a recent report that Tamil Nadu is suggesting, and it is suggesting that the Iron Age began for around 5,300 years ago, and that is which is nothing but 4th millennium BC. And this challenges earlier studies that were placed the beginning of Iron Age in India were much later. So they say that Iron Age was told much later, but it is so older, is what they're trying to say. What are the new claims? Okay, we'll see what are the new claims that it is trying to tell us. So, what had researchers said till now? The use of iron is one of the most important technology innovations in the human history. Okay, so if we are able to use iron, that is one of the important evolution that has happened in the human history. The genesis of iron is in India has several explanations, including its support arrival with immigrations from the West. Experts and scholars around the middle of the last century traced its origin from 700 to 600 BCE. Okay, however, the subsequent radiocarboning dating and researches pushed it further back. Technical studies on the material found in the several places suggested that the iron smelting in India could have begun early in 16th century BC. So here, whatever early things that they are trying to say, see, they are saying the previous studies have suggested that the iron that was introduced, suggests that iron was introduced to India by migrants that came from the West. Point number one. Okay. And point number two is it says that the beginning of use of iron was somewhere around 700 to 600 BCE in India. Further studies or radioactive carbon dating have indicated that the iron smelting have begun as early as 16th century BCE. Excavations in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, further, you can see that there were results that excavations in Uttar Pradesh 2 decades ago. Former Director General of Archaeology Survey of India, Rakesh Tiwari, highlighted in his paper that the origin of iron works in India, new evidences from the Central Ganga Plan and Eastern Vindhyas, they have been early 13th century BC. Iron smelting was definitely known in India on a bigger scale. Iron artifacts, furnaces, carbon dated between 1800 to 1800 to 1000 BCE were found in the excavations conducted by UP State Archaeology Department at Nala Ka Tila. Okay, that is in 1996-98, Malhar in 1998, 1999, and Dadupur in 1999, 2001. Among others, in Malhar, especially the presence of cure, slate, and finished iron artifacts hinted a large-scale manufacturing of iron tools. So here you can see that there have been a lot of findings. The findings also show that there's a large-scale iron production that had happened in Eastern Vindhyas and Central Ganga Plain, okay, by the second millennium itself. So here you can see there has been a lot of, places where a lot of iron artifacts that are being present. So this is what they are basically the few researchers have been telling. But what about Tamil Nadu? Now, what is Tamil Nadu basically talking about? As of Tamil Nadu, several excavations have been underwent in 2022 before the recent report released by Mr. Stanley pushed back an antiquity of iron. So Mayalduparai in Krishnagiri district came under the limelight after the chief minister placed the introduction of iron date for around 4,200 years ago. So before this also, they said that iron was introduced or iron was used or iron age was introduced in 4,200 years ago. This is what they said first. Okay, that is 3 millennium BCE in the state. He cited the findings of State Archaeological Department report. Okay, there were some state archaeological department that happened in Krishnagiri district. Okay, now they say that that is where agrarian society, beginning of agrarian society, 4,200 years old of iron age culture in Tamil Nadu, resulting in experts pointing out at a place of iron age in the state in the same timeline as copper as bronze. So here they are saying is that the same timeline when copper and bronze was used, the same timeline iron is also used is what the state was basically telling. The recently released report by State Archaeology Department, Antiquity of Iron, recently radiometric dates from Tamil Nadu assets that this and has pointed out that when the cultural zones in the North Indian experiences the Copper Age, those in the South might have entered into Iron Age already. So he is saying that in the North, if they are doing copper, in the South, we are already using Iron Age. Owing that the limited availability of commercially exploitable copper ore, targeted oriented excavation and initiated by the State Archaeological Department, the Archaeological Survey of India and others have in the recent years across the places in Shiva Galai. Okay, this is another important district that we have in Tamil Nadu. Okay, So Adi Chanchanuru and there are some other states, okay, have arrived to a view of nature in Tamil Nadu Iron Age. Based on the findings, we have placed a date of 3345 BCE to 2953 BC on taking a mean age of this. We can arrive to a conclusion that the Iron Age in Tamil soil started in the first quarter of the fourth millennium itself. An archaeological scholar told the Hindu while retiring that this, however, need not be a way of assertion that Iron Age oriented from Tamil Nadu soil itself. So here what we have to understand is, yes, we have found out the evidences that, okay, this started from the beginning of the fourth millennium itself, but that does not mean that Iron Age started in Tamil Nadu itself, is what they are trying to tell us. With this, the doors of further researches in Tamil history and culture has opened up. So here you can see that maybe we will be able to read more about Tamil culture over a period of time in future. So these are the important articles for today. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's current affairs. Thank you so much for your patience and time. I hope you are liking the classes. If there is any suggestion, please try to put it in the comment section. I'll try to implement it in the further